Okay, when you go to string the drum, you'll need a single cord long enough for the whole project, but you don't want an extra, say 15 or 20 feet, because you'll have to pull it through a number of times. In this case, I've got 16 grommets on the top and bottom, and so because you make 2 passes around the drum, you would end up having to pull that extra length through 64 times. So the length that I use is I measure the distance between 2 grommets, multiply that by the total number of grommets, and then I add to that 5 times the diameter of the barrel in this case, but tire in your case. So the first time you go through, you're really just stringing along the diagonals. So be a lot of rope pulling here because this is a very tall gap. So just pull it through, and when I do pull it through, I will leave an inch or a bit more of slack so that if the head gets off center, I've got some room to adjust it. And what I'll do is after I do the initial diagonal lap around the drum, I will gradually tighten it until it is snug, and then I'll start the second half. So there we have, with some slack, and then I will again do this. Now when you pull the rope through, every time you make a pass through a grommet, you're making a 180-degree turn, and so eventually your rope will get twisted and start snagging. So after every 2 passes through, I will unkink the rope. So once I've got this, I here and I kind of snug it, and I will go all the way to the end in order to work out that 360-degree twist from the rope. And then I will pass through again. I do make sure that I always come in from the outside. And then when I do the top, I'll hold the thing in place, so I might make sure I haven't shifted. All right. And you just keep going all the way around to the start. So at this point, I've just threaded the rope through here. I've made the diagonal lap around the drum. I've still got pretty slack cord, and then what I will do is I will make sure by checking opposite sides that I am roughly centered. The bottom won't move because of the weight, and I will go and I will basically pull the rope through so that it is not quite snug yet. I still have, say, a 1/4 inch or so of slack. And then I will, when I come around, I will again check to make sure that I'm roughly centered, and then I'll go around a 3rd time and make the rope snug up to this point. Then I'll start the second pass around the drum where the knots are tied. Once I've got it snug, I'll actually go around again, pulling it pretty tight. You won't get a lot out of it. Maybe once I go all the way around the drum, I might only get another 4 or 5 inches. But at that point, the ropes are fairly tight, and when I make the second pass through to tie the pinching knots, it will tighten it a little further. I'm now ready to begin the second pass around. You can hear the drum head is already pretty tight. This particular drum head looks a little off center because this barrel is 24 inches in diameter in some directions and 22.5 inches in diameter in another direction. So now you're going to start going around a second time, and you're going to pinch these 2 together below the middle. Then you'll pinch these 2 together above the middle, these 2 together below the middle, and these 2 above the middle, and so on away around. And the way that you do that is you're going to come down in front of these pass the rope in front and then behind this one, then behind this one, and then I can pull the end through the top of the loop. And then tighten it, but I want it to be past the center. Now I'm going to pinch these two. So I'm going to go up. This is going in front, and I'll push the end of this part of the rope through. So now I'm going behind, and I'll pull this through. This is why you don't want 10 to 15, maybe 20 feet of extra rope. That. And now I'm going to pinch these two, so I come in front. The rope is coming in front. Then tuck it behind, pull it through. Holding it with my left hand so it doesn't lose the tightness here. And then I will tighten it up. Now that we've done 3, you can see how you get the shape. On a tire with only say a 6-inch gap or so, there'll be a lot more lateral pull to the rope than on these long ones that I have here. This is a 20-inch gap. So now I'm going to go back above the center. This puts it in front of these two. Tuck it behind. And then pull the end through. And then tighten that. And we'll keep going around until we've made it all the way back around to here. So now I'm coming around to the last one. Again, I'm going to go in front, then behind, and pull through. I need this to be fairly low. And there. And so at this point, I simply do a couple of half hitches, which means I'm kind of forming in this loop again, pulling through. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do this. And pull it through. Now at this point, you could cut this short. I actually melt the end a little bit with a lighter from the grill, and you could cut this short and do the same thing. But what I usually do is leave this in place for a bit, for maybe a day, because this is a nylon rope with a polyester fill, and it does stretch about 3 to 4%. And so what I would do is maybe after a day, I will undo the second round around the drum. The diagonals will be a little bit slack because of the 3%, 4% stretch. Make those snug again and then retie this. At that point, because this line is longer than just a diagonal, when you pull it tight, the rope has run out of stretch, and you will probably tear a little bit some of the grommets on the top part, because there's really nothing else left to give if the rope can't give. But it does not do enough damage to take away the integrity.